So in my last video, I was ranking the top 4 Navy Federal products that I believe can increase your Navy Federal internal score. And so I had ranked it to where my number 1 was direct deposit, number 2 was checking and savings account, number 3 was going to be the pledge loan. And y'all, in the video I was saying, I bet everybody going to probably say the pledge loan, but actually in the comments a lot of people was agreeing and saying direct deposit. But when I put the poll on my community tab, most people said the pledge loan. And I'm just like, y'all, the pledge loan is good, but I definitely think that direct deposit and a checking or savings account can most definitely boost your Navy Federal internal score. And so I was just like, that was just too funny. But we always talk about ways that we can increase our Navy Federal internal score. But what are those ways that we can decrease our Navy Federal internal score or overall make it hard for us to get approved for Navy Federal credit cards? But really, when we're thinking about our Navy Federal internal score, 1, we're trying to increase our probability of getting approved for credit cards. 2, we want to increase our probability of getting approved for those high credit card limits. And so in this video, I really wanted to talk about what are those ways that we can decrease our odds of getting approved for Navy Federal credit cards. Let's get into it. So y'all, we're going to talk about 4 ways that I believe we can decrease our odds of getting approved and lower our Navy Federal internal score. And so we're going to take a look on the Navy Federal site, because you'll have to let me know, do you ever go over to the Navy Federal site and look at the making sense columns? Because, sometimes they'll send us emails about them. So I'll check it out from time to time. But then also I was looking around because really I wanted to take a look to see about, with the Navy Federal internal score. And ultimately, it's just going to be your opinion or my opinion, but a lot of it is from experience. But I also went on this forum and I found a really good, they were talking about some things. So we're going to get into it. So first, I'm going to say having a weak relationship with Navy Federal. And I know that all too well. Number 2 is going to be our credit card utilization. 3 is going to be having a lot of inquiries. And 4 is going to be having late payments on our credit reports. So let's get into it. So y'all, I had went over and I was just on a Navy Federal site seeing if I could find some information. So let me show you what I came up with. All right. So when you come over here to the Navy Federal site, I found 2 really good articles in the Make It Make Sense. So you'll have to let me know, do you ever come over here to the Make It Make Sense on the Navy Federal site? And so this is talking about how to get approved for a credit card. And so they are saying, 1, credit card approvals depend on your credit score, income, and employment history. And so it gives 4 different factors that can affect your credit card application. So that's going to be your credit score, your income, your length of employment, and your application accuracy. But y'all, this is where it really came down to the 5 credit card application mistakes. And so you can see number 1, applying for multiple credit cards at the same time. And y'all, you already know I've been trying to apply for like 2 credit cards at one time. And I'm telling you, when I apply for 2 credit cards at one time, y'all, I be getting approved for low limits. But I also think that this is the case when we have too many inquiries on our account, because when we have too many inquiries on our account in a short period of time, it really can make us look a little bit more riskier, because they're stating, okay, well, why are you applying for a lot of credit around that time? And so here, it's saying applying for multiple credit cards at the same time. But I'm just going to overall say having too many inquiries on our account, on our credit report around the same time. So here, I think this should be number 1, but not managing your credit card utilization. And I'm just like, y'all, I really feel like credit card utilization is going to be number 1, because the thing is, if we have high credit card utilization rates, most of the time they're not going to want to approve us for new credit cards, or we will get approved for lower limits. And so here it says lenders prefer to see low credit utilization on applications. Before you apply for a new credit card, try to pay down the existing balances to lower your credit card utilization. Aim to use no more than 30% across all of your credit cards. And so you'll have to let me know, do you take a look at your credit cards for all of your credit cards, or do you look at them individually? And so I really think that you really want to have your credit card utilization 10% or less. But I really think if we want to increase our credit score fast, the quickest way that we can increase our credit score is by tackling our credit card utilization. Because even though our payment history is 35% of our credit score and our utilization is 30% of our credit score, I really feel like if we can tackle our credit card utilization, then we can get a huge increase of our credit score by tackling our credit card utilization over, like payment history, our length of credit, our inquiries. Because you already know once them inquiries get on there, it be taking a long time for them to fall off. So with our credit card utilization, that's going to be the best way. But I think, with sometimes, especially when we're trying to apply for credit cards and we're applying for a lot of credit cards at one time, sometimes 2 credit cards at one time, but then having high credit card utilization is just not going to work if we are trying to get high credit card limits. And while that's the case, even with Navy Federal, I think that's going to be the case with any credit cards. When we are applying for credit cards, we really have to decide, are we just trying to get approved, or are we wanting to get high limits? Because I think we really use a different strategy depending on which one we want. Because sometimes, I really just want to get approved so I can get the points and all that kind of stuff. And I might not really want to get a high credit card limit. I thought it had something on here about late payments, but let me see. It might be on this one. Well, this one is just really breaking down the factors of our credit score, and that's going to be payment history, credit card utilization, length of credit, the credit mix, and our inquiries. But I do think that our payment history can really impact us. But I want to show you this. So I was trying to search to see about things in regards to the Navy Federal internal score. And from this forum, and this is my FICO, it had this question, and it says, I opened up a Navy Federal account with $50 and applied for one of their credit cards, but was rejected. This seems crazy since I have flawless credit, but I'm seeing a lot of references in forums at the Navy Federal internal score. Can anyone tell me based on this, and they're just trying to understand why they got rejected? So you can see here that they have roughly $75,000 worth of credit cards, and it's mostly the Chase Sapphire and the Citi Thank You Preferred. They have around 15% credit utilization. They have no delinquencies, and they have 4 inquiries on their credit report. But then it also says, not sure if the income matters, but mine is high enough that my DTI should not be a factor. So my debt to income ratio should not matter. But when we do take a look over here at the forum, it does say that your income plays a part. So we do want to make sure that we are, reporting the correct information on there. But I thought that this was so crazy because, y'all, this really could have been me, in a sense, writing this when I first joined Navy Federal. Because when I first joined Navy Federal, y'all, I had joined Navy Federal. My credit score was rather high, in my opinion. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait a little bit before I apply for a credit card. But y'all, I couldn't even wait. And it probably wasn't even a few weeks before I had applied for a Navy Federal credit card. Basically, this person didn't even say they waited a few weeks. They said that they had went ahead and applied. So that means So my first thing that I was saying on here was not having a strong relationship with Navy Federal. So you can see here when he joined Navy Federal and he only had the Navy Federal, I want to say checking account. It has to be either probably a savings account. I would say that it's probably the savings account. And they only had the $50 in there. And then they applied for a credit card and they got denied. And so I'm just like, that's why I was saying in my video yesterday, I really feel like time plays a huge part in building a relationship with Navy Federal, because just like me, I basically did the same thing that this person did. And I immediately applied for a credit card, but thinking that, okay, since my credit score was good, that I'm just going to be able to get approved. But we have to make sure that we're building that relationship with Navy Federal. And so that's really what this person is asking. And so possibly I would have stated, and then if we take a look on here, I want to say they did start to state that they would allow, I want to say 3 months, but that's kind of what I was saying too. I would say to allow time, and I would start depositing some money into my accounts. And if you can, my number one thing was direct deposit. I think if you have the checking account and a direct deposit, those are going to be some of the quickest ways that you can increase your Navy Federal internal score and time. So for this person, I would have possibly waited 3 months or so to go ahead and get some time under my belt, then do direct deposit. Because see, they said that they had a 15% credit utilization, and that's pretty good, but I would probably get it 10% or less, or even 7% or less. But overall, that's still good. And I would say probably the only reason they probably got denied is that they didn't have enough time. And then if they were, because they didn't say how long it had been since they had applied for a credit card, but they did say that they had 4 inquiries and they had just bought a house. So maybe at the time their credit was real hot. And so maybe it just wasn't the time to apply for credit. And so that's why I think when we are applying for credit cards, before we apply, we really have to look at our credit report to see, what's going on so that we can kind of prepare our credit. But really, if we have our credit in a good position all the time, then we can apply for whatever we want. Because, I like to run tests and stuff to see what I can and I can't do. But I would really like to see, when did he apply, soon after, because I think this was 2023 when that post came out. But when I applied for the Navy Federal flagship, that was 2019. And so that was some time ago, but it was the same scenario. And so I think that overall, having not a lot of inquiries on our account, giving time, within there to build a relationship. I really think building a relationship with Navy Federal is going to be the most strongest thing that we can do. And how we can do that is by doing direct deposits and, putting, or if you don't have direct deposit, putting money into the accounts, because I wasn't putting no money in my accounts and this person wasn't putting no money in their accounts. But I'm just like, at least I did get approved, even though it was for a low limit, but they didn't even get approved. So it does matter. And so that's where we just really want to take a look at our credit. But you'll have to let me know, have you applied for a Navy Federal credit card and you got denied? And then let me know, is there any tips that you feel like you can let us know that can give us higher probability of us getting approved for Navy Federal credit cards? Well, I hope that you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, and turn your notification bell on so you be notified when new content drops. I thank you so much for watching. Until next time.